The first thing I noticed was how quiet the room was. Not the good kind of quiet, the sterile kind. The kind that settles in before a decision is made that someone will pretend isn't personal. I sat at the end of the long, polished glass conference table, facing a wall lined with industry awards I helped this company win. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent the last year of my life saving Lancaster Freight Systems from collapse. 12 months of 80-hour weeks, cold meals eaten at my desk, missed holidays, and code so complex I started dreaming in machine logic. I didn't just patch holes, I rebuilt the ship while sailing through a storm. I was the architect behind the AI logistics platform that brought our numbers back from the grave. Not a patch, not a gimmick, a solution. And yet, as I waited for the recognition meeting to begin, I already felt something off. Across from me was Bryce Anderson, a guy whose only real talent was showing up at the exact moment others were about to get credit. He sat there with his lazy confidence. Spinning a pen between his fingers like this was just another casual Tuesday. No urgency, no sweat. The same guy who once asked if JSON was the name of a developer on the team. I should have known. Then Mr. Colton, the CEO, walked in. Sharp suit, expensive watch, a politician smile. He looked from me to Bryce and said, "Gentlemen, thank you for coming." I gave a nod. Bryce smirked. Colton leaned on the table, clasping his hands. "Travis," he began, "we all saw what you did with the AI overhaul. That system didn't just improve us, it transformed us. Our Q2 profits tripled. We're getting calls from companies that wouldn't even return our emails last year." He looked at me like he expected humility. I gave him what he wanted, a slight nod, no words. I didn't need to remind anyone what it cost me to get us here. "And Bryce," Colton continued, turning, "your leadership this past quarter has really stood out." I felt my gut tighten. The word, leadership, hit me like a slap. Was this happening? "That's why," he said, "starting next Monday, Bryce will step into the role of director of AI systems." I blinked, not because I didn't understand the words, but because I did. The team I had built, the system I had designed, the results I had delivered, all of it, handed to someone who didn't even understand the difference between a router and a switch. I stayed still, but my jaw clenched. "You're giving the department to Bryce?" Colton nodded slowly, like he was diffusing a child's tantrum. "Travis, you're brilliant. Everyone knows that. But leadership, it's not just technical. It's about vision, communication, charisma. You're the engine. Bryce is the driver." I didn't respond right away. I wanted to. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Because in that moment, something else was happening inside me. Something deeper. A shift. And then the insult. Colton reached into his blazer, pulled out his wallet, and slid something across the table. "A $50 bill. For your effort," he said, smiling like he was handing out medals. For a moment, I just stared at it. I had generated $200 million in new value for this company in less than a year. Built the foundation for its future. Put out every fire. Solved every problem. $50. I picked it up slowly, folded it with precision, and tucked it into my pocket. Not because I needed the money, but because I needed the reminder. "Thank you," I said calmly. Colton looked almost confused. "You're not upset?" I smiled. "No, just excusing myself." And I stood. No slam, no speech. Just walked out. My shoes tapped against the tile like punctuation marks on a letter I wasn't going to finish reading. They thought they'd broken me, that I'd slink away, resentful but obedient. What they didn't realize is that I wasn't staying quiet because I was weak. I was staying quiet because I was calculating. And I just learned exactly how little they thought I was worth. $50. I showed up the next morning at exactly 7:45 a.m., 15 minutes earlier than I normally arrived. Not because I had anything to prove. Not because I was planning some dramatic confrontation. I just needed to see it one last time, with clarity. The system I built. The team I trained. The place I once called my second home. The front security guard, Leo, blinked like he'd seen a ghost. "Didn't think we'd see you today, Mr. Travis." I gave a small nod. "Habit, I guess." He smiled and buzzed me in. I walked through the lobby, the same polished marble floors that used to feel like progress, now echoing like irony under each step. The elevator doors opened, and I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirrored panel. My face was calm, my shirt crisp, but my eyes told the truth. Tired, yes, but wide awake, alert, focused. Third floor. My floor, or at least it used to be. The doors slid open with a soft chime, and that's when I saw it. My office door, wide open, boxes stacked neatly in the hallway. My name scrawled across the side in black Sharpie like someone had already decided I was history. And there, sitting in my chair like he'd earned it, was Bryce. Feet up on the desk, coffee mug in hand. His name printed in bold black letters across the ceramic. He didn't even flinch when he saw me. "Oh, hey man," he said like I'd walked into the wrong room. "Didn't expect to see you in today." I didn't answer, just walked in, steady and slow like I still owned the place. For a second, I caught something, just a flicker in his eyes. Uncertainty. "I came to get my things," I said simply, nodding toward the boxes. "Right, yeah, of course." He sat up straighter. "Listen, I hope there's no hard feelings. You're still part of the team, obviously. Just in a different capacity now." "Different capacity," I repeated. He nodded like a man trying to sell a bad idea. "Yeah, Lawson's putting you on a special project. Something about updating legacy systems for the support team. Should be fun. Lots of back-end cleanup. Back-end cleanup. From leading AI systems that save the company, to fixing printer queues and sorting corrupted Excel files." "Sounds perfect," I said dryly. He smiled, clueless. "Right?" I picked up the first box and walked past him. My steps were slow, deliberate. And the hallway? Dead quiet. No congratulations. No thank yous. Just glances. The kind of glances that happen when people know something isn't right, but are too scared to say it. When I reached the back corner of the building, the so-called support department, I almost laughed. A flickering monitor sat on a wobbly desk. The chair creaked like a joke. The whole thing felt like a cruel prank from the universe. But I didn't get angry. I got quiet. Because what no one in that building knew, not Bryce, not Colton, not even IT, was that the software I'd written, what they had wasn't the real version. Sure, they had the shell, the basic framework, but the deep logic, the neural mapping, the predictive modules that made it truly revolutionary, those lived on an encrypted private server. Mine, they had a machine that worked. I held the machine that could change the industry. And as I sat there in that forgotten corner of the building, surrounded by buzzing fluorescents and dust-coated cables, I pulled out a notepad. Not to write code. Not yet. I started planning. Not revenge. Not sabotage. Strategy. By lunch, I had written 3 names across the top of the page. 3 people who mattered. Elena Vargas, our former CMO, who had left when her budget was gutted despite tripling our conversions in 6 months. Jason McCain, the infrastructure lead who walked out after Bryce overrode a critical server protocol and nearly deleted half a year's worth of analytics. And Priya Desai, the only other engineer who ever understood the depth of what I was building. 3 people pushed out by politics. Overlooked. Disregarded. Just like me. I didn't message them right away. I waited until 3:17 p.m. when Bryce was giving his first team talk in the conference room, bragging about a future he barely understood. Then I sent 3 messages. Brief. Private. Direct. Not a pitch. A whisper. They didn't reply that day. But I knew they would. Because people like us were not noise. We're signal. And when ignored long enough, we don't fade out. We build something better. They replied within 3 days. The first message came from Elena. Been waiting for this message. Tell me where and when. No questions. No hesitation. Just readiness. Elena never needed convincing. She needed a reason. And now she had one. Jason was next. If this is about what I think it is, I'm in. All in. He had always hated the politics. Hated the spotlight hogs like Bryce. Jason was the kind of guy who could rebuild a network with a screwdriver and a piece of gum, but he never got the credit. That kind of man doesn't forget. He just waits. And finally, Priya. Still have your prototype? Still believe it's the future? Let's build. That was all I needed. We met the following Sunday afternoon, tucked into a corner booth in an old coffee shop east of downtown Austin. Industrial brick walls, squeaky leather seats, and the kind of soft lighting that made everything feel like a secret, We didn't bring laptops. We didn't dress for business. To anyone watching, we were just four friends catching up. But across that scratched wooden table, something far more dangerous than a business plan was unfolding. A mission. I still can't believe they passed you over, Elena said, stirring her tea like she was operating a lab instrument. You didn't just help them survive, Travis. You handed them a legacy. I shrugged. They gave me $50 and a broken chair. That's what they thought it was worth. Jason shook his head. You know what Bryce told me the day I quit? He said some people are just better at pretending they know what they're doing. Priya let out a dry laugh. Figures. But we're not here to complain, she added. We're here to fix it. I nodded and reached into my bag, pulling out a small leather folder. Inside wasn't just the code base, it was the full vision. What I had never shared with anyone at Lancaster. Predictive routing, real-time inventory intelligence, carbon impact tracking, modular integration for mid-market logistics systems. A system that didn't just crunch data, it anticipated chaos and prevented it before it began. Jason's eyes widened. You built all this? Kept building it, I said. I knew they'd try to claim everything eventually, so I never let them have the real thing. Elena raised an eyebrow. Is it even legal for us to launch this? I looked at her directly. The base model they have, I wrote that before I joined the company. The core architecture, the neurologic, it was mine. Always was. I never signed it over, just gave them implementation rights. Not the IP. Priya leaned in. Then let's give the industry what Lancaster didn't deserve. And just like that, it began. We didn't have funding. We didn't have fancy offices or tech incubators. We had my apartment. And hunger. The kind that lives deep in people who've been dismissed one too many times. We named it Echelon, a smarter, faster, ethical AI logistics platform built for the post-pandemic era, where global supply chains were desperate for predictability and speed. We worked off Jason's old server rack in my living room. Elena drafted pitch decks between bites of dollar pizza. Priya coded until her hands cramped. I rewrote the logic architecture every night, refining what I had started a year ago into something that could break the industry. By the end of month 1, we had a working demo. By the end of month 2, we had our first client, a mid-sized warehouse network in Arizona that was sick of bugs and broken dashboards. They didn't even flinch at our asking price. By week 10, Echelon was live. And within 48 hours, that warehouse cut their delivery time by 25%. But it was week 12 that changed everything. The headline hit the logistics newswire like a bomb. Lancaster Freight Systems facing major client losses due to AI system glitches. I didn't have to ask what went wrong. I knew. Bryce had tried to optimize my code. Probably deleted a load balancing protocol he didn't understand, causing rerouting errors across dozens of client routes. They patched it. Of course they did. But it was too late. In this industry, reliability is gospel. And the gospel had just cracked. I sat at my sad little desk at Lancaster that morning. The support team corner they'd dumped me in, and watched emails fly in, meetings get called, panicked whispers ripple across the floor. They didn't even look at me. But I saw it. I saw the fear growing. While they were scrambling to fix the mess in the present, we were already shaping the future. It was time. By week 13, we'd hit stability. Echelon wasn't just a proof of concept anymore. It was living, breathing, adapting in real time, and outperforming every tool the big players were still fumbling with. But we knew that wasn't enough. In tech, results don't speak for themselves. Not at first. You have to tell the story. So we did. On a Wednesday morning, we dropped our press release. It was short, sharp, and unapologetic. Former engineer behind Lancaster's $200 million AI turnaround launches new startup, already disrupting the logistics market. We didn't name names, but we didn't have to. Everyone in the industry knew who rebuilt Lancaster's AI from the ground up. Within hours, it was everywhere. LinkedIn, tech blogs, industry newsletters, even Reddit. By noon, my inbox was flooded. Subject lines read like confessions. Are you available for a demo? We've been looking to move away from legacy systems. Your platform dropped error rates by 87%. Can we talk? And quietly, in the background, something else was happening. At Lancaster, people started noticing. The same folks who had avoided eye contact in the hallway now nodded when they passed my desk. A few smiled. One even dropped off a coffee like it was an apology in disguise. Then came the emergency meeting. Bryce stood at the front of the conference room, trying to keep his voice even, tapping a dry erase marker like it could somehow fill the silence. So this startup, this echelon thing, it's being blown out of proportion, he said with forced confidence. A lot of buzz, but we're still the leader in this space. Nobody responded. Not a single nod. We've got the infrastructure, he continued. The brand trust. This won't shake us. I sat in the back corner. Not a word. Just observed. Because the thing about credibility is you either earn it or you don't. And right now, people were remembering who fixed the bugs, who stayed late, who pulled us out of the fire last year. It wasn't Bryce. That afternoon, Elena scheduled a demo with one of Lancaster's top clients, a massive food distribution firm with over 300,000 weekly shipments. Their CTO called us directly. We heard Travis is behind this new platform. If that's true, we're in. We stayed with Lancaster for him. But now we're ready to follow real leadership. I didn't smile, even though I wanted to, because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about setting the record straight. Bryce tried damage control. He hosted a webinar, called it a transparency session. 30 minutes of vague buzzwords and misused technical jargon. Jason watched the live stream and just shook his head. He doesn't even understand how the routing logic functions, he muttered. Of course not, Priya said. He was too busy trying to network with VCs while we were building the neural framework from scratch. The next day, 3 more clients left Lancaster. 2 of them came straight to us. The third? They were watching, waiting to see if the buzz was real. So we showed them. Elena worked with a local videographer. We filmed a product reel, clean, powerful, packed with real numbers and live client testimonials. By the time we dropped it on Friday morning, it had 80,000 views by evening. But that wasn't the real blow. The real blow came Monday. Lancaster's investor call. It was supposed to be their big fiscal victory lap. Instead, it was a slow-motion implosion. Slide 1. Client churn up 21%. Slide 2. Revenue dipped 14% despite market growth. Then came the Q&A. Someone asked what we all knew was coming. Is it true your former engineer, Travis Cole, built the AI platform that saved this company? There was a beat too long of silence. Then Colton's voice, brittle but trying to recover. Travis contributed to early models. Yes, but the system is ours. Another question. Then why is his new company outperforming you with a fraction of the resources? More silence. No further comments, Colton said. The call ended early. Lancaster's stock dropped 8% overnight. Elena messaged me 2 words. It's beginning. I leaned back in my chair, surrounded by open laptops, demo boards, and draft contracts. My desktop background still hadn't changed, just a simple photo of our team on week 1. Tired eyes, hopeful faces. Back when we had nothing. Now we were the ones being chased. In the corner of my desk drawer sat a folded $50 bill. Unspent, uncreased. A reminder, not of insult, but of ignition. By the start of the next quarter, Lancaster wasn't just leaking. It was hemorrhaging. Client after client fled. Some quietly. Others with loud exit statements posted to industry boards. Complaints about delayed shipments, broken routes, data errors. All the problems Echelon had eliminated were back at Lancaster like a ghost they thought they buried. The support team, the one they demoted me to, was drowning. Tickets piled up. Escalations doubled. No one could get through to Bryce. He still came in every day, but something in him had cracked. His once perfect tie now hung crooked. His morning strut replaced by a twitchy shuffle. His meetings shorter, his answers more defensive. It was poetic. And then the final blow landed. Lancaster's biggest logistics partner, one of the 5 largest in North America, publicly announced they were transitioning to Echelon. We didn't pitch them. They came to us. Their CEO called Elena directly. We're tired of duct tape and guesswork. We want the original architect. We want Travis. That one deal, $18 million annually. But the number wasn't the most important thing. It was what it meant. Lancaster had just lost the one account that propped up their year-end forecasts. The board couldn't spin this one. The market smelled blood. And so did the press. Inside Lancaster, chaos set in. Rumors spread like wildfire. Colton hadn't been seen in days. Some said he was stepping down. Others said he was looking to sell. Either way, there was no leadership left. Only people trying to keep their heads above water while the ship went under. And every investor, every angry client, every failed demo, they all traced back to a single moment. The moment they gave me a wrinkled $50 bill and told me I didn't look like leadership. That Monday afternoon, as I reviewed onboarding specs for 3 new clients from our Chicago office, a new email popped up. No subject, no sender name, just one sentence. They want to talk. No greeting, no context. I stared at it for a moment, then forwarded it to Elena. Her reply came back almost immediately. Don't go. Make them come to you. The next morning, I got the official meeting request. Subject, strategic partnership discussion. From Richard Colton. Time, Friday, 10 a.m. Location, Nova Systems HQ. I leaned back in my chair, fingers steepled, watching the sun rise over the skyline. Nova Systems. My company. My terms. Jason spotted the invite on our shared calendar and raised an eyebrow. Should we prepare snacks or just bring popcorn? We all knew what this was. Not a negotiation. Not a reconciliation. A reckoning. Friday arrived like a storm rolling in over flatland. Inevitable. I wore black. Not for drama, but precision. No brand logos. No power tie. Just a tailored suit that said exactly what I needed it to say. I don't need you. You came here. They arrived on time. Colton looked older, tired, shrunken. Bryce followed behind, visibly sweating, jaw tight like he had something to prove, but had already lost the battle in his head. I greeted them at the glass-walled boardroom. The Nova Systems logo gleamed behind me like a closing argument. Gentlemen, I said, gesturing to the seats across the table. They sat. No one spoke at first. They were too busy absorbing it. The glass, the steel, the energy humming through the hallways. This wasn't a startup anymore. This was a fortress. Finally, Colton cleared his throat. Thank you for meeting with us. You asked, I said simply. We believe there's still an opportunity, he began, to realign. Share technologies. Collaborate, possibly a licensing agreement. Silence. Bryce jumped in too fast. Look, Travis, we know you're doing great things, but Lancaster still has equity. Brand recognition. Distribution infrastructure. We don't have to compete. We can coexist. I interrupted, flat and calm. You've lost client trust. Your last update broke 3 major routes. You're getting named in breach notices by Fortune 500 companies. The industry has seen the cracks. Bryce shifted in his seat. Colton tried again. We're prepared to offer you a senior leadership role, full control of your division, competitive package, and the respect you deserve the first time. I raised an eyebrow. So, you want me to clean up the mess while you take credit again? That's the pitch. No, Colton said quickly. This time will be different. I leaned forward. You underestimated me once. You don't get to do it again. Then I stood and slid a folder across the table. This is a formal acquisition offer. Bryce blinked. Colton paled. You're buying us out? He asked. No, I said. I'm giving you a dignified exit before the market buries you. They didn't answer. For a long time, no one spoke. Then quietly, almost broken, Colton nodded. I'll take it to the board. As they stood to leave, Bryce looked back, voice low. You're really going to erase everything we built? I smiled just slightly. You didn't build it. I did. And I'm not erasing anything. I'm preserving it. Without you attached. And with that, they walked out of my building. Of my future. And of the story they thought they had written. The deal closed on a Tuesday. No fanfare. No cameras. Just a single legal statement quietly filed with the financial authorities. Nova Systems acquires all remaining assets of Lancaster Freight Technologies, including proprietary software and intellectual property. One paragraph to end an entire era. Lancaster was gone. Absorbed. Archived. Erased. And just like that, the company I once gave everything to, my time, my mind, my loyalty, ceased to exist. Their patents? Now stored under Nova's name. Their systems? Phased out. Replaced. Their leadership? Forgotten. Within 6 weeks, Echelon had surged past 50% market share. Then 58%. Still rising. Nova Systems was no longer a bold newcomer. We were the standard. The blueprint. The bar everyone else had to measure against. It should have felt like victory.